And welcome to the third hour of American Agenda. I'm Joe Pinion in for Bob Sellers.
Great to be with you today.
Always happy Mondays here at the Max.
Yeah, you reminded us it's Monday, though. I'm Heather Childers, and we are joined also by our family of co-hosts, lawyer and GOP strategist Ford O'Connell right there, host of Money Talk with Melanie and Project 21 member Melanie Collette, and Tennessee congressional candidate Quincy McKnight. Welcome to everyone.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, President Trump really fired up the crowd at CPAC this past weekend, ripping President Biden on big tech, critical race theory, you name it. Also teased a potential 2024 run in the straw poll, got a high percentage, about 70% of the votes cast at the CPAC convention went to President Trump in that straw poll, while only 21% went for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who had been gaining on Trump in popularity. The poll is obviously not scientific, but again, routinely does show the sentiments of the base, even if past polling champions have not actually been the nominee in the future. Want to talk to the panel. Ford, I'll start with you because we're clearly in an atypical environment here. President Trump is unlike any former president, namely because of the fact that he still has the potential to come back. What does this CPAC actual presentation show you about where the base is and where President Trump's mind is right now?
Well, the base of the Republican Party is now the party of America, the America First agenda. We're a multi-ethnic, working-class coalition, and Donald Trump's absolutely right. In just under 150 days, Joe Biden has brought this country to the brink of ruin. Here's what I'm going to predict on this panel, and Heather's heard me say it many times before. That I know it's early, but the 2024 Republican presidential nominee is going to be a Floridian, and it's going to be either President Trump or Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. It's really that simple. I know it's early, but right now this party's being guided by the America First agenda, and that's what a lot of people in the suburbs and across the country want to see, particularly after looking at the Biden agenda.
Yeah, Melanie, I'll go to you. What do you have to say about this? This is what the former president had to say about the Democrats' obsession with politicizing race.
Democrat obsession with race is only dragging us backward into the past, and it is bringing our country down to a point where even China and Russia are lecturing us on human rights, race, and they're doing it in a very humiliating fashion.
Yeah, Melanie, it does seem like the Republican Party is the party of unity. That's the party that's trying to pull people together. And when President Biden took office, that's what he claimed he was going to do. And look at what's happened.
Indeed, and the Democrat Party could not possibly be more divisive when it comes to race. I stand by what I've always said about President Barack Obama being the beginning of the end as far as being the most racially divisive president. You would think that when we got our first African-American president, that would have been the beginning of kumbaya among the races. But I assert that that was the beginning of the most racially divisive this country has ever been since the Civil Rights Movement. And I think that President Biden continues to be very divisive among the races. And the Democrat Party, as it has historically been divisive among the races, continues to be so. So I completely agree with President Trump on that. And when, countries like China have the audacity to lecture us on our race relations, you know that we're in a bad way.
Well, Quincy, I want to come to you because President Trump also spent a good deal of time talking about the increase in crime across this country, from California to New York, everywhere in between. We saw the rampant shootings in Chicago this past weekend again. To our panel's point, we've seen America completely come undone in these first 6 months, foreign and domestic. When you talk about having America First candidates to take that first step in bringing back that majority in the House and the Senate, what does that look like? What is your candidacy going to look like?
My candidacy is very simple. Leadership, strong leadership, bold backbone. Just because right now, one of my takeaways that I took from President Trump from CPAC this weekend was that he showed that the lack of leadership that's running right now at the border and how we're not, but our current and existing president wants to take the the credits for all the COVID-19, the pandemics and things of that such, but he doesn't want to take accountability for our border issues that are currently rampant, which is causing a lot of the crime in this country, from Chicago to Miami to LA, all the into Memphis, all these top places of where the crime rates are rocketed through the roof. We have got to start holding our local state legislation accountable, but we also have to start holding ourselves and people like, Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago. She's just not being a good example of what leadership really is. And that's what President Trump was trying to emphasize at CPAC on yesterday.
Ford, the other thing that he talked about, of course, was his lawsuit against big tech and the efforts to get the conservative message and a message of unity amongst America First candidates and people who stand behind that platform, get that out publicly to more people. So how do you think that can be accomplished?
Well, I think that President Trump has to keep pushing this lawsuit and the idea of big tech censorship, and it's a good thing that he's leading that cause, particularly the Republicans locked out of Washington. And we know this from a John McLaughlin poll, the effect that big tech has is because we know that if 10% of the folks who voted for Joe Biden had known about Hunter Biden's scandals, they wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden. We'd be talking about President Trump right now. Big tech has the power of God to shape people's opinions, and the Republicans need to put their foot down. The problem is we're locked out of power in Washington, so now President Trump has to carry that message until we can get back into power in Washington.
Now, Melanie, I want to come to you because to that point, if we do not have the megaphone in social media currently, if we do not have the bully pulpit of the White House currently, what is the responsibility for everyday Americans, patriots, conservatives who believe in freedom, who believe in American exceptionalism, to make sure that we're getting our neighbors informed to the reality that we've seen the president of Haiti assassinated on this president's watch, that we've seen nuclear silos built in Chinese deserts on this administration's watch? How do we get the word out when it's clear that from social media to the left stream media, it's clearly not going to happen?
We really have to be involved on the grassroots level. A lot of people like to be keyboard warriors, and that's all well and good. But on the grassroots level and being involved in our gubernatorial elections, there's two in the country, being involved in our state elections, our Senate elections, being involved on the grassroots level. And of course, being involved on social media is important to the extent that we can be, to the extent that we're not censored. But being involved on the grassroots level is just really important.
If you take a look at that straw poll, and we can't bring it back up right now, but some of the other names that were listed, Quincy, they all came in at 1% after you go below Ron DeSantis. But were there any other names that you think will move forward and move up the line when it comes to 2024?
As of right now, I don't think so. And that's just based on my personal opinion on the gauging the temperature. Now, again, those polls were also based on the attendance at CPAC, okay? Right. So that's not saying that's the United States of America that's saying this, okay? So, but I firmly believe, and I'm a big proponent and supporter of Governor DeSantis. That's just my opinion because he supports and shows strong leadership of how a state should be ran, and he knows how to answer a call when tragedies occur. But as far as anybody else on there, I mean, and also let me just say that Governor Christie, she seems to be a powerful person, and I've met her, had the opportunity to meet her once, and she is a powerful person and seems to know exactly what true leadership is about as well. So if anybody, I would say them two outside of President Trump.
Absolutely. I think to even be on the list, it is clear that when it comes to the conservative movement, it is all about putting America first and no actual toleration for anyone who doesn't. Want to have our panel stick with us. Coming up, Cuba erupts in protest and the Biden administration blames COVID, not the repressive socialist government that has been in place there for over 62 years. That and more coming up on American Agenda. After this, you're watching Newsmax TV.